I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of Ballston Spa Central School District Board of Education for December 21st, 2022. You all rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to point out our emergency exits in case for some reason we have to exit the room. They are on the either corner behind me leading outside or the doorway into the hallway at the front of the library. And first of all, I'd like to welcome all who are here in attendance. I'd like to welcome those watching on the live stream. First off, we have recognition, and I have an opening comment that leads into recognition. So I'd like to welcome you all to this last meeting of the 2022 calendar year. Earlier today, I took a look at the live stream recording of our final meeting of the last calendar year, which was December 15th, 2021, and we were all wearing masks in that meeting, and it was a different time. It's been such a better experience so far this 2022-2023 school year for our students, for our instructional support and administrative staff, for our parents and child caregivers, and for our community as well. I'd like to thank all of those groups. I'd like to thank our associations for their support and leadership of our staff. I'd like to thank the leadership of the towns and the village that make up our school district for their partnership and support. I'd like to thank our law enforcement partners at the village, county, and the state level. I'd like to thank all these groups for their efforts to support our students and for their support of the district in its educational mission. That mission not only includes instruction, but also the support for many extracurricular activities that provide the full student experience. The overriding theme for this year is identifying, responding to any pandemic-related learning loss, making sure we have a focus on instruction, getting our students back on track academically where necessary, and most importantly, making sure that our students and staff are well socially and emotionally. We all together have made great progress so far this year, and I look forward to hearing of our district's continued progress in these areas in the calendar year 2023. Recognition from the district?
Yeah, a few groups we'd like to recognize. I will start with the Saratoga County Sheriff's Office, who donated 750 backpacks to our backpack program. So 750 backpacks from the sheriffs. Thank you very much to Sheriff Zerlo and the crew for that. I also wanted to recognize our students and music department. I had the pleasure of taking in a few concerts the last few weeks, and just an amazing job done by the students, the staff, fantastic. Kids are just so happy to have the concerts back, and just a lot of fun all around across the district. And then tonight, we are welcoming the Ballston Spa Educational Foundation, who recently presented us with a total of $5,694.24 in grant awards to educators here at Ballston Spa Central School District. So tonight, if I could have the group up led by Cheryl Durant, who will be talking a little bit about the grants.
to raise, manage, and distribute resources to educational enrichment projects throughout the Ballston Spa School District. The funds must be educationally enriching, innovative, creative, include a plan for continuation beyond the foundation's support. The foundation would like to thank everyone who submitted proposals. This fall, we are pleased to present grants to 4 worthy projects at the middle school and high school. The fall 2022 awards, totaling $5,694.24, went to Erica Hover. Come on up, Erica. $1,420 for pre-vocational kits for the middle school. These will be used to benefit students in the self-contained special education programs to provide hands-on functional learning opportunities that address academic growth and develop functional life skills. Next, we have Gaga Ball at the middle school, $1,825 to Ann Cornell. This grant is for the PE department, but it will benefit all of the middle school students, as well as extracurricular clubs and events, and provide a new and fun way to move and interact. If you don't know what Gaga Ball is, check it out on YouTube. It's pretty fun. The next grant for $449.24 is for Catherine Casella for yoga mats at the middle school. I do not believe that she is here this evening. These will be primarily used with the self-contained special education students as well to work on motor skills, calming strategies, and following directions, which are skills that they need. And last but not least, $2,000 will be given for coping kits here at the high school to Laura Shockley and Donna Thomas, in the social work department. These will be used with students who are in need of support to manage emotional stresses during the school day so that they are able to regain their composure and go back to learning and have the confidence they need to be more independent throughout the school day. So thank you all for the grant applications. Congratulations to everyone. And we are proud to support the efforts and the quality of education for our students. Okay. Yeah. Putting forth the effort to, here, I'll just take it. This is
And then lastly, I would just like to wish everyone in this great community a wonderful holiday season and a very happy new year. And that concludes recognition.
Thank you. And again, thank you to all of our wonderful partners from the community. Next up is our first period for public comment. We do have people signed up for public comment. I will read our guidance. Board of Education welcomes district residents, parents, other interested persons to its meeting. Community involvement at board meetings is encouraged so that the board can better understand and represent the views of its constituents. Please be aware, however, that information such as individual student information or particular personnel issues cannot be discussed at public sessions of the board. Speakers will be called upon individually. When recognized by the board president, will be asked to approach our podium, state your name and residence. Statements are restricted to a maximum of 2 minutes. Speakers will be notified by the board president when his/her time has expired. And as always, after about 2.5 minutes, I will ask you to please conclude your comments. The board and the district staff take the public comment very seriously. However, the board will not respond to comments or questions during the public comment period. Please address all your comments to the board as a whole and not to any individual board member or district staff member. The board asks the public's cooperation in maintaining a safe and respectful environment. The board president reserves the right to limit individual comments if it is deemed necessary. To achieve this, speakers will not make slanderous attacks on any group, organization, or individual, a member of the board, an employee of the district, a member of the audience, or a member of the public. Please do not use profane, vulgar, threatening, or disparaging language or racial or ethnic slurs. And please do not disrupt the meeting with loud outbursts or other disruptive conduct or behavior, either during the speaker's assigned time or at any other time during the meeting. Speakers understand that a failure to comply with these rules for maintaining a respectful and productive environment may result in early termination of the speaker's allotted time, a denial of future requests to speak, any other actions deemed necessary by the president of the board, or where appropriate in the matter of a health or safety measure, the superintendent of schools. And our first speaker is Jim Shear. Please approach the podium.
Good evening. My name is Jim Shear. I spoke at the last meeting in support of surveying your community regarding possible future mandates from the Hochul administration. At that meeting, the board rejected a walk-on resolution to conduct a survey by a vote of 5-2. Yesterday, in the interim, our group, New York Informed Saratoga, has received several other letters from Long Island school districts, which they sent to the governor. And I'll read part of my email. Most of you, or all of you, should have got those copies. Most of you need to reconsider your vote last week rejecting doing a survey of your parental community. The mandates are here. Title 260, effective date 12/15/22. Mask mandates. I'm going to leave a copy with your guy over here. They've already been drafted. I note that the Gazette recently had an article of your most recent survey regarding qualities your community would like to see in a new superintendent. There was a discussion at the last meeting about we can't do surveys for every little thing, but these mandates are not a little thing. They are a very big thing. And when you read those letters from the Long Island schools, you'll see how big. And I'm going to read from the Farmingdale letter. The Farmingdale School District is compelled to draft this correspondence to illustrate the unadulterated chaos that such a vaccine mandate would unleash upon our district, both from a logistical and an operational perspective. Respectfully, a vaccine mandate would cause undue prejudice and generational harm to hundreds, if not thousands, of children in our district. Farmingdale statistics establish that a minuscule number of our students are fully vaccinated. Based on the knowledge we have gleaned during the last few years, less than 6% of our elementary school population, less than 10% of our middle school population, and less than 30% of our high school population are fully vaxxed. Overall, less than 15% of the district student population is fully vaccinated. That means that a vaccine mandate in New York State would compel the families of the remaining 85% of our students, an overwhelming 4,402 students, to make an arduous decision. Do they surrender to the mandate, or do they take the unprecedented step of withdrawing their children from our schools and embarking upon the unknown prospect of homeschooling? The Farmingdale District believes that when confronted with such a difficult choice, an overwhelmingly large number of our families would trepidatiously choose the latter option of withdrawing their children from school and then proceeding with the unfortunate task of trying to figure out how to homeschool them.
If you could please conclude your remarks.
Yeah, I have a couple more sentences. The ripple effect that such a significant decision would have upon the district, and more importantly, those children who would be withdrawn from our schools, would be cataclysmic. The staggering academic gaps and social issues that undoubtedly would result from a vaccine mandate in New York would mean generations of Farmingdale residents and New Yorkers at large, including countless scores of innocent children, would suffer undue damage as school districts statewide take decades to dig out from under the collateral damage that would result from these mandates. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our list, Jason Severia.
Good evening, everybody. Back in April of this year, I submitted a request for review of library materials for the book Genderqueer. I have the book here, but since there's children in attendance, I won't make you sick to your stomach with the photos again. I have a good moral character, unlike the committee members that decided to keep this book on these very shelves here. So I have the letter I got from the committee chair, Kathleen Skelly. In this letter, she writes, "The review committee unanimously determined that the book should remain in circulation in the high school library. The committee discussed that the book is a memoir and autobiography, covering an individual's personal experiences on a topic that is relevant to the high school age group. The committee found that the book met the selection criteria for library materials. The committee specifically discussed your concern related to child pornography and determined that the references to sexual activity were between consenting adults and, therefore, did not constitute child pornography." Now, by Kathleen's own words, she's admitting that her and the committee all admit to sexual activity between consenting adults. They say it right here in this letter. It may not be child porn. To me, it is, because the cartoon depictions in here are depictions of what looks to be as a child. You're a fool if you don't think otherwise. The depiction of erotic behavior, as in pictures or writing intended to cause sexual excitement. Material, such as books or photographs that depict erotic behavior and is intended to cause sexual excitement. The depiction of acts in a sensational manner so as to arouse a quick, intense emotional reaction. That's a definition from Merriam-Webster for pornography. So this committee and Kathleen, and I will find out who the rest of the committee is, I've FOIA requested everybody's names, is okay with having pornography on these shelves. Now, you might have an argument, say, okay, this is a high school. I have an 8th grade daughter and also a 7th grade daughter that pass from the middle school to the high school daily, unchecked. I was told back in April that's not possible. That doesn't happen. It happens. It happens every single day. Children pass to this school. There's a law in New York State, 245.11, that says you cannot show explicit sexual material out in public. If this isn't public, I don't know what is. And there's also a law that says you cannot have this material within 500 feet of a school. And I'm pretty sure our awesome sheriff back there will back me up on that. It's under this roof.
If you could please conclude, Mr. Severia.
The decision for this book to remain in the school is going to fall on each and every one of you. So I'm told. Make the right choice, because as I gave Dr. Duca my word yesterday during a personal meeting with him, that I would keep my composure, I'm a man of my word. And I will give you my word that if this book remains on this shelf, I will go to every residential building in this town. I will go to every store in this town. I will go to every church in this town. I will bring with me this book, and I will show them what you all could perhaps promote to our children. Mark my word. make the right decision.
Thank you for your comments.
Merry Christmas to everybody, too.
Next on our list, Aaron Terizzi.
My name is Erin Terizzi. I reside in Malta. I'm here today to talk about the vaccine mandate that may or may not get passed in New York, stating that school-age children would be required to receive the COVID vaccine in order to obtain a free and public education. I was unable to attend the last meeting, but I watched the video and I heard the discussion, and I want to thank the board for that discussion. I would also like to thank the parents that were able to attend and comment on this topic. I have to say I was very disappointed that the board voted against hearing from their constituents. I would like to know what harm is there in finding out how the people of this community feel about this issue. It was stated in the last meeting that nearly 50% of the population, the student population, is not vaccinated. So my question is, are you here to only represent the other 50% of the population? That's not a small number of students that are not populated. It's nearly half of our population. Listening to the board speak made me feel that our voice doesn't count. It made me feel that maybe this is more about control and power and not about what our community wants or needs. There were 2 members willing to advocate for all of the members of the community, and I want to thank you, Matt and Law, for that. That was much appreciated. I also want to say I'm disappointed and frankly disgusted that someone on this board played on the fact that even if a survey was put out, that some people that say they would homeschool might not be able to because of economic limitations or childcare needs. So does that mean people who are less fortunate don't have a voice in our community? Because that's the way it came across. And what is the alternative for those families? Forcing them into injecting their children with something that they disagree with? Something that could potentially cause harm and even death? I've listened to victim after victim speak about their experiences after the vaccine, and honestly, it's very emotional. I know people personally who have been harmed by the vaccine, some who have died from the vaccine. I don't think that putting out a survey to ask people's opinion about that is harmful, or I see no reasons why that wouldn't happen. Whether you believe in the vaccine or not, you are appointed positions on this board to advocate for the students and not let your personal feelings on this issue affect your decision-making skills, and that's what we're expecting you to do. I think it's morally unethical to use others' disadvantages against them by not giving them a voice. Timing was brought up at the last meeting, and unless you have inside information that the general public is not privy to, I think it's presumptuous to say that it's highly unlikely that New York is going to move forward with this mandate. In fact, I think Jim even said, it's happening now. So with timing off the table, because that's what many people said last time you met, I'm going to ask again if a survey could be put out to the parents to find out what our community would do if a mandate was put in place. Another member mentioned not being reactive.
If you
Waiting
can
is being
conclude,
reactive.
please.
I understand only a small portion of the parents were able to come to the meeting or email about the meeting. I think a lot of people are unaware of this. As Chris mentioned at the last meeting, his voice, along with the others that spoke out, represents more than just our own personal voices. We have spoken with many families who are homeschooling, and there are resources out there. And yes, it would be hard, and it will be a lifestyle change for many. But I think that you would be surprised at how many people would change their entire lives if that mandate was put in place. I know my family would, and it would be devastating for my family, but that's a hard choice I would have to make. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, Jason Gertler.
Jason Gertler, 99 Rollins Street. Keeping with the theme of ugly sweater, ugly Christmas sweater. So Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy Hanukkah. So, excuse me. I had some counterpoints to go along with this discussion from last week, or last meeting, excuse me. To go along with what Mrs. Teresi said, 8378, yeah, sure, okay, timing, you're saying, and it's sitting in committee. We all know that these things sit in committee for a little while, and, you know, there's processes, sure. How about the process for the unconstitutional gun laws that were passed in 2 days? From introduction to sponsor to co-sponsor to floor to desk of Governor Hochul and out the door. 2 days, that's all it took. So just be aware of that. Homeschooling, the topic of homeschooling came up and how difficult it would be for people to homeschool their children. Well, I happen to know that there is a wealth of information available, and I would like to make our community aware that I have a wealth of information available to you. If you choose to homeschool your children, reach out to me. I will get it to you. It's not that hard. It's nothing like you think it is. Because to me, there's nothing that I would not do to protect my children. We all saw what happened with COVID when the world shut down. People stopped working. They worked from home. They stayed home with their families. They did what they had to do to get by. Homeschooling is nothing different. As it was mentioned by Mr. Scheer, there are 9 school districts in this state that have sent letters lobbying to the government, not saying that they're not going to comply, but they are saying that we are lobbying against this based on our community's wishes. Those schools are Connecticut, East Islip, Farmingdale, Massapequa, Burnt Hills, Ballston Lake, our own neighboring district. Island Trees Public Schools, the Catholic Diocese across the state, Elwood Schools, and Wantagh Union Free Schools. It's a lot of schools that are starting to stand up and take a little pushback on the governor and say, we stand with our community. I think that this district should reconsider conducting a survey to see where their community stands. And lastly, I wonder if some of the inactions of this board may or may not have to do with a conflict of interest for the board president working for the Department of Health may or may not persuade his decisions on the school board. I'd just like to wrap up by saying thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. Merry Christmas to everybody, Happy Hanukkah, and a Happy New Year as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gertler. Next on our list, Chris Dubuque.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen on the board. Chris Dubuque, Kaling Drive, Boston Spa. I am also here to speak about last meeting with the vote. Again, I appreciate the discussion. That was a discussion that needed to happen, and I appreciate hearing everybody's views and any hesitancies they may have. I want to also share, though, I just came from a great gathering in our local community in the village of Boston Spa. So for the first time ever, the village now has a menorah. We had a chance to light it. My son had a chance to do the blessings. Even had people come up to us and thank us. You know, their family has been in the village since the 1800s, and they were Jewish, and they've never had anything like that. And all I could think of is that's just a great turnout of community. That's what it's all about. And I could tell you, I looked around, I saw a lot of people I know. I saw a lot of people that we may not agree on 90% of the stuff out there, but they still showed up in support. They showed up in support of their community. They showed up in support of each other. And that is what we're asking for when we're asking for that letter, when we're asking for that questionnaire to go out. Show that same support for your community as well. I know we pass around the BHBL letter to everybody, but I just want to read the one section of it that stuck out with me, because all the other letters are pretty good, but this one of their letter, our neighbor, really stuck out to me, where they put in here, in a worst-case scenario, this would result in as many as 700 students leaving the BHBL school district. If even a portion of this potential exodus became a reality, it would be a great loss, not only to our school community, but also to those students who would no longer be permitted to receive a public education. I want to highlight in there again, this would be a great loss, not only to our school community, again, community. That's all we're asking with that questionnaire. I'll be completely honest, I do have a hard time. I can understand a hesitancy on the letter, but I do not see a hesitancy on getting that questionnaire out there and listen to your community. These are your neighbors. These are people that were freezing like me tonight to light the first menorah ever in the village. This is important to each and every one of us. And like I said, when I come up here, I don't just speak for myself and my family. I speak for those who can't make it here tonight. They have concerns as well. And again, that's why they voted for you, to represent their children, to represent them. Many of them are teachers. You heard from a teacher tonight that has concerns. Again, you represent everybody, not just a small portion, but everybody. Get that survey out, listen to their voices, and then decide what to do from that point on, but at least see what the public, what this community feels. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our first session of public comment. It's time in our agenda now for our student government report. We have Katie and Selena. Welcome.
Hi. Just to recap from earlier this month, we had holiday trivia, which was very successful. Congrats to the winning team, the Science Trivia Wizards and Mrs. Quinn. And congrats to the runners-up, which were the W Rizzlers. And also thank you to the board for participating with the team. We're happy that everyone had a great time.
We are currently in our Holiday Spirit Week. School participation has been great. Today was Color Wars for the high school, and tomorrow is district-wide festive pajama day.
We have speak-outs planned for January and April. Here we will run a meeting quite like this one, where we will hear from the student body and take their concerns into consideration and brainstorm solutions. For our January date, we have one January 17th with a snow day date of January 18th.
Also in April, we have planned our Spring Fling dance, and it's going to be in late April.
We also hope you guys all have a great holiday. That's all we have today.
Well, thank you very much.
Katie and Selena, are board members welcome to listen to the high school students at the Speak Out?
We also plan on running it during the lunch period so that all students will be able to have access to it no matter what classes they have and not have to miss anything.
Any other questions or comments from the board members for our student government representatives? Well, thank you again, and you may please excuse yourself. Okay, next up is our superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity to present this evening. I did want to start off with a little bit of comedy before my first presentation at the start of the school year. The night before, I was in my kitchen and sink backed up. Ended up switching out the garbage disposal, big thing. So, yesterday I get home from work. I figured I'd work a little bit, finalize this presentation, and I go to turn on the sink. Faucet explodes. Run over to Home Depot, do the whole faucet thing. So lesson learned, next presentation, I'm going nowhere near the kitchen the night before, done. But really, this presentation here tonight is a presentation on the development of our budget and how we choose our priorities. As we get into the next months, both Brian and I will have several presentations where we discuss percentages and dollars, but tonight is really about setting the groundwork for the entire process. So we have our mission, the Ballston Spa Central School District, provide an excellent education, maximize the potential of each student. And really we start to talk about the meaningful diploma. And for what that means for us is that we continue to create those opportunities for our students. But we also really strive to teach them how to use those opportunities to achieve their goals. Very big on goal setting. When we achieve a goal, we don't just stop there. We look to set another one and keep moving, keep that momentum moving forward. And so really what that means in the meaningful diploma, our students are going to read, write, think, and learn well. They're going to be well, but they're also going to be citizen ready. And this is something that we've highlighted recently with our work on the Seal of Civic Readiness, which we've had presentations on, and we'll continue to do these things. And so I want to talk a little bit about frameworks and fiscal frameworks and how we start to prioritize the budget and things that we're going to focus on. And so our district is committed to providing the best opportunities to help students reach their full potential, while also maintaining cost-effective practices, programming, and leveraging existing resources. And really what we're taking a look at is the things that we already do, what we already have in place, and we're assessing to see if we can make adjustments and create efficiencies so that we're able to reallocate those resources to help our students achieve those goals, to help our buildings achieve the goals that they set out. We're looking to really be efficient in the process. The next fiscal framework, our district is committed to preserving and improving quality programs and services for students throughout innovative practices. And so we're always looking to improve across all areas. And so we certainly celebrate our successes, but we also do not want to ignore areas where we need to be better. And our third and final framework, our district is committed to thoughtful allocation of resources in order to maximize the return on our investment. And so it's really popular to say that we're investing in our future, but what that means for us, how we gauge our return on our investment is how we measure the success of our students. That's really what we're here about. So supporting them and helping remove those barriers. Ballston Spa, our return on investment is the success of our students. And so we're a very student-driven community, and that's what we're going to continue to be. So we have our continued areas of focus, and these are things we've really made huge strides in the last few years. And in terms of curriculum, we want to continue to provide high-quality, standards-based curriculum across all grade levels, and really focusing on content areas and creating, adapting, and eventually having that cohesive K-12 continuum of curriculum, which really reflects the needs of our students. In terms of instruction, we're working towards a full implementation of the district's MTSS plan, complete with targeted trainings for staff to increase interventions and really reduce the referrals that go to special education. Later in the year, we'll have a full update on MTSS for the board. In terms of assessment, we'll continue to refine and develop clear understandings of the purpose and design of effective assessments and how they can be utilized to improve teaching and learning. Positive student behavior and wellness, very key. We create a safe, secure, welcoming environment for our teaching and learning by promoting student wellness through structured interventions. But we also develop and train our staff so that they can mitigate and correct some of the disruptive student behaviors when they happen. And that's something that we're really focused on, recruitment, retention, development of personnel. We'll continue to be creative in our recruitment strategies, but that's going to enable us to hire those high-quality candidates for openings across our district. But we also want to take a look at the things that we're currently doing and bolster that by adding to our already robust professional development catalog. We want to have thoughtful and relevant offerings that are really, again, going to help our students succeed. In terms of communication, we're always going to continue to reflect, refine, and improve our communications, and this is including the development of a new district website, which is in the works. And then all this is kind of done with long-range planning in mind. So, we look to make calculated decisions now that not only address present situations, but also take into account future budget ramifications. We do want to be fiscally responsible. And so some key questions that really guide our budget development. And so as we develop the budget, these are the questions that are driving those conversations when we're talking, a central office, the building level, really department level. So what can we do to make the school and classroom experience more engaging and relevant for students? How can we leverage educational change to our advantage that might otherwise present barriers? And finally, what can be done to ensure equitable outcomes for all our students in helping them reach their full potential? And again, I'm going to keep coming back to it. Our investment is the success of our students. And so I'm talking a lot about the success of students and our investment in that. And this graphic really represents the things we have to be committed to that are most important to our kids, their safety. And so we'll continue to partner with local agencies, not only to maintain safe and secure environment, but also continue to support mental health needs, their engagement. And this piece is really, really important. I've seen it time and time again in my experiences in this school district. And sometimes it can take a student a little bit longer to have that engagement. But once that student finds that connection, it just absolutely makes a world of difference to their educational experience, whether that be a connection with the teacher, a content area, a certain class they're taking, potentially a sports team, a club. Once they have that connection, they become engaged. It really changes the whole landscape for them educationally. And then next, their ability to see themselves as leaders in our community and beyond. I think that's really important, that we want to focus on our students as leaders. And not only within the classroom, but as they move out into the community, as they leave our district, once they graduate, we really want to produce leaders that are going to make a difference. And finally, their curriculum, which is something that we'll continue to talk about. We have a few different upcoming board presentations on curriculum and kind of where we're at, K-12. And so these things all lead us into some of our budget goals, proposed budget goals for 23-24. And so really, we want to continue the good work that we already have in place. So we want to maintain and enhance our current programming. So supporting the ongoing implementation at the K-5 level with reading, math, science, social emotional learning curriculum. We want to support the continued implementation of the Middle Years International Baccalaureate Program for our middle school, grades 6 through 8. And then we want to continue to create additional learning opportunities for students in 9-12. And really what that means is continuing to enhance some of the courses that we offer at the high school, enhance our career and technical education here on our campus. And again, this ties back to that engagement piece. When you offer more choice, have more opportunities for students to become engaged, they're going to be a lot more successful. As we talked about, a little bit more, some providing support for the MTSS program. And then we want to continue to improve our district facilities to ensure a safe and secure campus for all our students and staff. And we'll also have some additional goals forthcoming. We're really awaiting some final revenue data, and that revenue data will be in terms of state aid. And so we'll have a better sense of where we stand for our February presentation, which leads us into a nice segue into some upcoming presentations. So up in January, we'll have some curriculum and assessment updates. We'll also talk a little bit about MTSS and special education. And then Brian and I will be back for a full budget review on February 8th, 2023. And by that time, we should have a better understanding of where we are as far as state aid goes. And we'll continue to expand on those budget goals. Any questions?
Questions from the board members for Dr. Duca? Thank you. I think as expected, we have a lot of continuity with our long-range planning and long-range programming that we've already started and have in place.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, for your work on the budget as well. I know you and Dr. Duca will be working together. Next up on our agenda, committee reports. We did not have any committee meetings. I don't believe we have any committee business. Dr. Duca, committee business? Correspondence. Correspondence to the district.
We had one email requesting an appeal of a decision.
Okay. Correspondence to the board. So since the last meeting, there have been 11 distinct correspondents who have sent a total of 15 emails to the board. These were all regarding COVID vaccinations and the board advocacy. 10 correspondents expressing a anti-vax mandate, pro-advocacy position, and 1 correspondent expressing a pro-vax, pro-board actions position. Announcements. Mr. Williams? No announcements. Thank you. So now we're at the time in our agenda for old business. Do any of the board members have old business?
Yes, Jason, I do.
Mr. Ryan?
I'd like to revisit the old business from Resolution 358, conduct survey for parent caregiver opinion regarding COVID-19 vaccine. That was walked on at the last board meeting.
I'm sorry, Brian, can you
Do you have a feedback?
shift the camera around so we can have Mr. Ryan?
Yeah. That was walked on at the last board meeting by presenting a modified resolution for walk-on consideration tonight. I believe another discussion of this topic would be fruitful given the additional feedback from district residents and additional letters of advocacy being drafted by 7 other school districts. I provided each of you with a letter from the Wantagh Union Free School District that I thought was rather on point for your review. I made some notes regarding some of the questions and concerns board members had at the previous meeting in hopes of addressing those concerns. One was conducting a survey means that the board is required to send a letter of advocacy. That's why I've modified the resolution to remove the language regarding sending a letter of advocacy. As a first step, I believe we can in getting feedback from the district residents, and after the review of the results, we can further discuss if a letter of advocacy is warranted. Another concern was a mandate for COVID-19 is not on the agenda in Albany. Bills in committee has gained no traction in 2022. Assemblyman Jeffrey Dinowitz from the Bronx is on record in October of this year stating that he has every intention to reintroduce the bill to require students in New York to be fully vaccinated for COVID-19 in the next session. I can reference the article that I got that from if anyone would be interested. Lawmaker advocacy, lawmakers would view the advocacy as preemptive, meaning preventing something from occurring rather than proactive, acting in anticipation of future problems. So I had to, once again go to my dictionary, make sure I understood the context of the question. But the way I kind of view this is the general public can only preemptively take action during voting of lawmakers into office or not voting them into office. The public can proactively influence individual legislation through lobbying efforts such as letters of opinion. And this is probably the biggest one and one where I got probably the most to talk about is it the board's place to lobby for the topic of vaccines, right? I was able to attend a webinar for, it's the New York State School Boards Association, acronym is pronounced NSBA for ease in talking about it. They had a 2023 legislative and state budget review last week that they presented position statements on 99 different initiatives ranging from curriculum, special ed, state budget, employee relations, so on and so forth. So for that document, they just have an introduction here that I think is useful to present. They say the position statements that guide the New York State School Board Associations are outlined in the document that follows. And I provided you one page of this document that I'll just talk about in a second. These statements are introduced by member boards of education or NSBA's board of directors. Each fall during the association's annual business meeting, voting delegates adopt official positions which lay the foundation for the association's advocacy, agenda, and priorities. Once adopted, each position remains a formal position for 5 years unless it is rescinded or the action of the position calls for is accomplished. The position statements direct the association to advocate either for or against a wide variety of legislative and regulatory issues at both the state and federal level. In addition, some of the position statements are statements of principle or belief and therefore do not call for specific action. And then they have a table of contents of all the 99 and then a little snippet of some other ones. So, I reviewed these position statements, and they do not reference the COVID-19 vaccine specifically, but in a related topic under employee relations, they state the following. NYSBA supports, in addition to the New York State public health law, that all immunizations required of students under the provisions of New York State public health law 2164 be required for all school staff where medically appropriate for adults. And that was first proposed in 2021, so it'll be on the docket for 5 years from that date. At the webinar, we were able to ask questions. I did text in the chat feature the following for a response. I asked, why is NYSBA calling for legislation to require all school staff to receive vaccinations required of students? I believe this mandate would only further create issues with retention of current teachers and will adversely affect others from entering the education field. I would also like to know NYSBA's opinion on mandating COVID-19 vaccine for children's K through 12, as there is a parent concern for this type of mandate. Being listed on the CDC's recommended schedule does not mean it should be a school mandate. It took 8 years for chickenpox to be approved by the FDA to be mandated in New York elementary level. COVID-19 vaccine mandate for schools in 2023 is way too soon. The response visually from the presenter basically said, the position was adopted at the 2021 business meeting based on board members' advocacy and voting. So every school board, like ourselves, can send a delegate to this committee, and they discuss a whole bunch of topics, just like we do at every board meeting, and then they come up with their positions for the year. He went on to explain the advocacy process and the voting delegates for this meeting. They did not answer the remainder of my question regarding COVID-19 vaccine specifically, so unfortunate to that. I use this as an example of the vital role that school boards play in advocating for a variety of topics, which includes immunizations, which kind of answers a long way of answering the first question, should we be even addressing this topic? I would like to briefly also like to briefly mention that if the COVID-19 vaccine is mandated for all school students and the advocacy position just mentioned regarding school staff is pushed forward, then the COVID-19 vaccine would be required as a means of employment. I recall from a year ago that the COVID-19 protocols that required non-vaccinated school staff to be tested weekly and the challenges that presented. As I stated in my question in the webinar, such a mandate for staff would likely deter some people from being employed by a school district. Another question or concern was 53% of students are already vaccinated. What are the survey results even going to yield? Very easy to check a box for homeschooling on a survey, but is it truly an option for everyone? And I would agree that the intent to homeschool might be there, but for some single parents, caregivers, it would be prohibitive. But I would caution the board that homeschooling is a viable option for many of the families in the school district. We can throw around percentages, 10%, 5%, 1% would be 40 students. But I would say that this advocacy, if this advocacy prevented just one family from homeschooling their children, then it would have been worth it. I would say that, I say this because I have the confidence in the well-rounded education that is provided by the Ballston School District. And lastly, survey concern was, survey gives a false impression that this is an ongoing possibility. One thing that occurred to me afterwards is 2022 was an election year. One party was voted into control of the Assembly, the Senate, and the governor's office. If you're not familiar with the New York State legislative philosophy of 3 people in a room, I would say anything is possible. And as somebody had mentioned, it can happen in the matter of days with very little discussion. So I just want to, remind that, finally, the choice of regarding COVID-19 is about personal health, not public health. As the CDC website routinely says, breakthrough infections can happen, and people who are vaccinated may still get COVID-19. So once again, this is personal health, not public health. So based on that, I would like to present the walk-on resolution. Jason, I'll read that for you.
Okay, and I'm sorry, before you do that.
Sorry.
Procedurally, for all our board members, proper discussion would not occur until after a motion has been forwarded and seconded. We'll take that as the preamble to the motion. And so since it's a walk-on resolution, a motion would have to be made to walk on this resolution. That would have to have a unanimous consent from the board in order to be considered at this meeting. And as our policy 1510 shares, a walk-on resolution that does not receive unanimous consent is considered tabled until the next board meeting. And again, if it is motion seconded and approved, then proper discussion would take place amongst all the board members. So just procedurally, is everyone clear on what our policy is?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So now, I'm sorry, Law, back to you. I think basically you would
Read the resolution?
read the resolution and make the motion for it.
Yes. Resolution, conduct survey for parent-caregiver opinion regarding COVID-19 vaccine. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Ballston Spa Central School District that the district conduct a survey of parent-caregiver opinion regarding the following topics: potential New York State mandate of the COVID-19 vaccine for attendance in school. How likely would you be to homeschool your child if COVID-19 vaccine became the law?
Okay, so before I ask for a motion to approve, I'm sorry, Brian, just for reference, do we have to give it a resolution number now? Would we give it the resolution number which is after the last resolution that is currently in our agenda? Okay, so the last resolution in our current agenda is 379, so I will make this resolution 380. And now I will ask for a motion to walk on resolution number 380, conduct survey for parent-caregiver opinion regarding COVID-19 vaccine.
So moved.
Second. So with a motion and a second, now we have a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion is walked on. Mr. Ryan, since you proposed the resolution, you would have the first time. Do you have any additional comments or discussion?
I don't have any additional comments. I think I wanted to present it up front. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion from board members? Yes.
So at the last Board of Education meeting, I refrained from voicing my opinion on the walk-on resolution that was introduced, since I felt many of the other board members had made several valid points that did not need to be repeated. I commend Law for his due diligence in researching this topic, listening to community members, and really going the extra mile to be educated about this topic. Since a similar walk-on resolution is being introduced, I felt it necessary to make some clarifying statements so that our community knows that I have given careful consideration to this topic. As I just said, Board Member Ryan raises valid points about the vaccine and concerns about it becoming mandated. While I personally have chosen to be vaccinated, I believe that individuals are solely responsible for what they choose to put into or remove from their own bodies without interference from the government. Therefore, I would not support a vaccine mandate and understand the stress that this would place on many families in our community. That being said, I don't believe that this board should act preemptively and cause unnecessary concern to the citizens of our district. The legislation, I know that Law pointed out, it is due to expire at the end of this month. Therefore, I think if we put a survey out to the community, it could cause individuals to fear that a vaccine mandate is imminent. While legislation could be introduced, there is not a lot of support for the mandate to go forward. And so therefore, I think we would be doing some harm to the community, casting fear when there is no credible threat. So it's not something that I can support. Thank you.
Any other discussion from any board members? Not hearing any. All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, I have to have a motion. No, no, wait a second. We did it? We had the motion? Right, and we did the motion to approve. We did not do the motion to approve. I am sorry. No, we did, because Tim seconded. That was the walk-on still? All right, I apologize. Can we have a motion to approve resolution number 380, conduct a survey for parent caregiver opinion regarding COVID-19 vaccine? Second. Okay. Any discussion?
Okay. So I might be out of the loop, but has any new information come out regarding legislation to impose a vaccine mandate other than the intent to resubmit the bill come the new legislative session? Has anything, do we know any information with regards to that?
Just to quote an article saying that the Assemblyman will, does intend to
Okay.
reintroduce it in the next session.
Okay. So if part of the reasoning was a timing issue, and with regards to timing, whether or not this bill would actually have the momentum to make it through committee, to make it onto the legislative floor with regards to timing, that timing issue. I find a difficult reason to sway a decision in favor of a survey when nothing has really changed with regards to that. In a matter of, if it's not a timing issue, but one more of what is public opinion at the present moment. And like I said, besides the bill, intent to resubmit the bill, there's no indication that this legislation would even be discussed in committee, let alone be brought to the floor. And without knowledge of such a push for this to go through, does this survey serve more purpose other than to obtain public sentiment? And if that's the case, are we doing a service to our community, or are we just becoming pollsters in that regard? We're just getting an opinion. Is that an appropriate use of district resources? I mean, ultimately, vaccine mandates should be imposed on science, data, and information which would support one. It's not going to be imposed solely on public opinion. You know, I have to ask ourselves, if we do such a survey, are we truly serving our community at large, or does this amount to nothing more than, exercise, posturing for a certain cause? It's my opinion that we should be sure that such a bill would have the momentum to make its way past committee onto the legislative floor first before taking any further action.
Thank you. Other comment?
I just,
Mr. Chair?
I just
want to say that how quickly, again, law had, with the whole, how quickly things can transpire even within days. So if this was to happen within days, then I don't want to hear, you know, it's going to come, it could come back to bite us. We didn't do anything. We weren't proactive. So I don't want to hear anything if there's something that comes within days, comes back at us, and we just lost every opportunity that we could have done. Again, I'm going to reiterate, I don't see why a survey would harm the school district or the community. If you want to talk about funds for a survey, let's do an in-house survey where we could come up with some questions and we wouldn't have to use the school district's funds. But again, I can't figure out why is this an issue? It's a survey. We're making this more difficult than it needs to be. And again, we were elected, and I really want to represent the rest of the community. And I just feel like that we're letting them down as well. So it's just a combination of all those things.
Thank you, Matt. Any other comments?
I guess I just have a question, and just want to echo Holly's law. Thank you for your careful research and your thorough kind of homework on all of this. And I appreciate that the resolution before us is different than the resolution 2 weeks ago, right? In that you've removed the communication part of this. But I guess that leaves me with a lot of questions as well, right? So if we did do this survey, kind of then what, right? Do we hold those results? Do we communicate them out to our areas, you know, to our community? At what point? For me, so I would just, I guess, would like to hear your thoughts about that. Or is that something that you would anticipate then bringing another resolution forward on?
Well, yes, if the results come back and say 10%, only 10% would do not want to see a vaccine mandate, well, then that tells us what our community's their sentiment is. I was going to originally buy, well, if 47% chose not to vaccinate their children, that's telling. You know, if they wanted it, they had every opportunity to get it. I think the survey just kind of reinforces what is our community opinion, and as you know, elected officials, we want to know what they're thinking and advocate on their behalf. And I don't say we should do a survey for every topic, but when you look at what really affects people, you know, injecting something into their loved ones is something that's people obviously have a higher regard for than other issues that may come across this board. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Trivia? Tim?
I would offer up one other question. Does this, with the approval of doing a survey, would it hold us to a timeline to doing the survey? Would we be obligated to do the survey sooner than later, or at any point? Like, what would the timeline be regards to that? And I'll explain my rationale why after.
Okay. I mean, I would say the sooner the better. You know, legislative session comes in early January. And, you know, the quicker we have the information, the better. Now, granted, we're going to get a survey back and we're going to have percentages, right? The one thing that I really liked about the Wantagh letter is there's not one percentage in there, right? It's just saying we're listening to our community, and we got both sides of it, for and against, but we really want the state government leaders to understand how those decisions would really impact, the residents. And that's where, that's why I gave you guys a copy of the Wantagh letter. To me, that really is on point. It speaks to a lot of different topics. It speaks to the masking, it speaks to the vaccines, and just really not letting this divide our community as it kind of has over the last year and a half or so.
All right, so the reason I'm concerned about timing, data is this kind of data would be very time specific to any sort of legislation. So for throwing it out there, they don't decide until summer to start getting this, theoretically speaking. They don't decide until summer to get the ball rolling on this. Would our data from taking the survey soon be reflective on the time-wise, whether when the ball gets rolling on it? It's, you know, public sentiment may change between now and the summer on regards to a vaccine mandate. We may have more information regarding COVID, regarding a vaccine, you know, regarding ease of, you know, so I have very strong concerns whether or not the data would be accurate to any legislative process.
If you're asking me to, as a direct question, I would disagree that the data would change dramatically. People who didn't want their children to have a vaccine today probably aren't going to want it to have them in 6 months.
Well, I would also point out that, you know, like, just because certain people don't get vaccinated just doesn't mean they're not open to getting vaccinated. It could be an accessibility issue. You know, you think about the type of vaccine for, you know, for the young teens and adults is a different dosage than, you know, grade school level. And I know for a fact that the accessibility to getting a vaccine for the younger population has not been as easy as for, say, adults. So
I would say if someone wanted the COVID vaccine, they could get it.
Right.
I think we had some on campus. You go to CVS. I mean, I don't think that's the limiting factor to why
it's not one. It's just one of many, obviously, factors. No, I agree there.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, not hearing any. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Abstentions? Resolution is defeated, 5-2. Any other old business? Next on our agenda, new business. I have a motion to approve Resolution Number 359, Board of Education Policy Manual File 1510, Regular Board Meetings and Rules.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution Number 359 passes. I have a motion to approve Resolution Number 360, Board of Education Policy Manual 5235, Memorials and Dedications.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution Number 360 passes. I have a motion to approve Resolution Number 361, Award of Bid, Rubbish Removal.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution Number 361 passes. I have a motion to approve Resolution Number 362, Agreement, Professional Services.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution Number 362 passes. May I have a motion to approve Resolution Number 363, Acceptance of Donation.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution Number 363 passes. May I have a motion to approve Resolution Number 364, Acceptance of Donation.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I would just like to mention that we very much appreciate the partnership with Hannaford, and for this resolution and the one prior to it, their donations in partnership with Hannaford to our schools. So thank you very much to Hannaford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 364 passes. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 365, acceptance of donation?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Just like to say thank you to the Rochester Institute of Technology. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 365 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 366, scholarship change.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 366 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 367, scholarship change.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 367 passes. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 368, placement of students with disabilities?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 368 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 369, placement of preschool students with disabilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 369 passes. May I have a motion to approve resolutions number 370 through 379 are recognized as the consent agenda for the purpose of Board of Education action. May I have a motion to approve resolutions number 370 through 379, the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Resolution number 370 through 379, the consent agenda passes. Any other new business? Okay, not hearing any. We are now at the time in our meeting for our second public comment period. Thank you. The same guidance that I read at the beginning of the first public comment period takes effect. Please address your remarks to the board as a whole, not to any particular board member or member of the administration. When called upon, please come up to the podium, state your name and your address. First on our list is Stephen Galish.
Good evening, I'm Stephen Galish from the town of Milton. This will be my sixth time addressing the Board of Education Ballston Spa. I've attended a majority of these meetings since August of 2021, and during that time, I've made a number of observations that frankly should be disturbing to all of us as taxpayers. While I myself don't have any children in this school, as my own children have grown, I am not only concerned for the children who do attend this school, I'm very concerned as a taxpayer and how our voices are being ignored and dismissed. Since August of 2021, I've heard suggestions and ideas from numerous concerned parents about how Ballston Spa school system could be improved for the betterment of all. Not once, and I repeat, not once have I seen any of these suggestions being taken into consideration or implemented. Your responses to our correspondence in curt, condescending, reduced to 1 to 2 sentences replies, as we have all sacrificed our time and our energy to be here, to write letters, and we certainly deserve more than a canned statement, and I quote, your concerns have been received and your point of view will be taken into consideration. Frankly, who's kidding who? Our point of view will never be taken into consideration. And as a side note, and it's not on my notes, I'm especially thankful for Law and Matt, but won't it be interesting in 2 to 3 months from now when that does get passed and the people of this district who pay the taxes here find out you knew about this stuff and didn't share it with them. The point is that 98% of the people have no idea that these so-called laws are even being considered. And so you're going to blindside them and they're going to have to make some real difficult decisions. And you folks knew about this and did nothing. And you don't want to tell them. Don't give me that excuse that, well, we don't want to undo concerns for the public. That's a wrong statement. But this evening, I want to respond to a statement that was made at the last board meeting from a board member on this board. The statement essentially was that homeschooling was difficult and complicated and not a task for the untrained. This is, of course, an absolute lie and a bias that comes from, as you would expect, someone who represents the public school system. The truth is, anyone considering homeschooling has a plethora of resources in this community. Support programs of academia and social are plentiful within our own school district. You could even contact New York Informed if you want to learn how to get started. Furthermore, the academic achievements by homeschoolers is far superior to that of those attending public schools at 10% of the cost. Homeschooling are taught essential information, and they don't have to endure CRT or diversity training or other nonsensical slop. Last May, and here's my request, last May, there were state tests given, and I have yet to see anything made public. I remember glowing responses by school administrators saying that they were going to have great test scores this year. Where are those test scores? We have heard nothing. I would request that these scores be made public immediately. I paid for them, and I want to see the results. Additionally, second request, I would like to see a comparison between homeschoolers versus public schoolers. While I already believe I know the results, I'm still requesting this information. Just so we're clear on my request, I will provide an email to, again, elaborate on these requests and to make it very clear. I must say that I believe that the scores were probably abysmal and were an embarrassment to the school board and the school system. I encourage you to prove me wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Galish. Next up, Chris Dubuque.
So again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Chris Dubuque, 6 Kaling Drive, Ballston Spa. Again, thank you for doing the due diligence, doing the education, and representing every single key factor and presenting to everybody on the board to address their concerns during the last discussion. And again, thank you for having that open discussion. I think this is something that's important. It shouldn't just be quiet. It should be something that should be discussed. And again, I'm probably a little biased here, but I don't see, again, a problem with the questionnaire going out. We've been up here for quite a while now as a group, as an organization, for numerous things that have concerned us and that have concerned the community and that have concerned parents. We started off as a very small group of concerned parents that just got together, 9 people. We're now over to 1,200. And as Mr. Galish said, I'd be more than happy, anybody watching as well. I understand that's some of the concerns for single parents. How do I homeschool my children? I'd prefer not to homeschool my children, but I could. And there's plenty of resources out there, even for single parents and people who think it's not possible. We are more than happy to help you out with that. The reason why we grew so big is actually the previous superintendent said, you know, there's nothing I wouldn't be willing to represent the community and the district on, but I'm going to be realistic. I may not have any success in doing so, but I'm not saying a small group of concerned citizens or parents couldn't do more. So we took that advice. We grew our organization, and I will more than likely be applying to be part of the building leadership team, both for the middle school and for the high school. And if it takes a building leadership team maybe to get a questionnaire out to the family, because a building leadership team will represent the economically depressed in our community that may not have all the resources to homeschool their children, I'll push for that. I'll reach out to my mayor. I'll reach out to the village. Maybe the village will get the questionnaire out, because for some reason the school board just cannot seem to approve to get a survey out. And unfortunately, if I have to ask the village, I'm going to have to explain why I have to ask the village to represent the village when the school fails to represent all the parents in the school. Again, it's a questionnaire. We're not asking for the letter. The letter would be nice with the results in hand, but we're asking for a questionnaire. Give every parent, every member of this community a voice. So if it falls on New York Informed Saratoga to make it happen, then it falls on New York Informed Saratoga to make it happen. But again, as was said by Mr. Galish, when this happens, and it happens quick, unfortunately, it's going to be a dark mark on this board. And I would hate to see that, because again, I'm proud that my kids go here. I think my kids contribute a lot, and I think this school contributes a lot to my kids. I've heard other concerns too. I equal the concerns over the book. I'll be honest, I think that is quite disgusting. And again, I'm a father of an openly gay son, and I think a lot of the stuff that's in that book is just so harmful to any kid, but especially those who may be questioning their own sexuality. And yet, some reason, a bunch of parents got together, or a bunch of members on a committee got together and thought that book was appropriate for this school, and I do not think that. But again, you know, that's a concern. I'll be more than happy to represent the parents that share that concern with me as well. But this is really a huge concern, and I appreciate the sentiment. I do think parents should have a choice of what to put in their own bodies, and certainly what to put in their children's bodies. Again, that's huge. That's all we're asking for. It's just a survey, regardless of what your opinion is or what you think might happen to the community. The community is going to get very alarmed if I have to reach out and do it and wonder why the school's not doing it, or why is their village or their town doing it. Again, we're concerned about the entire community. And we realize the results could come back to say the majority of people do support it. But how do you know unless you put the information out there and you ask for their opinion? Think about that. We will keep coming back, and we'll keep pressing the issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dubuque. Shannon Rashute.
We meet again 2 weeks later. Seems to be a habit that we're having. It's a joke. I want to thank you for allowing me to come up here and voice my concerns and my opinions while subjecting me to just a bunch of lies being thrown out from everyone. I appreciate this side of the panel listening to the parents of the community and our concerns. I feel like we're not really getting that all across the board. I'm very nervous. I've attended a lot of school board meetings, in a lot of the districts, and I have to tell you that this board is an embarrassment. You don't listen to the members of the community, to the parents, their concerns. You just go about what it is that you want to do. And 2 weeks ago, I witnessed for the very first time the board communicating, and it was nice. It was such a beautiful thing to see you guys listening to one another, even though I know who doesn't agree with who and who does, but you listened, and I appreciate that. But I also witnessed bullying going on from one person to like one side, and trying to get the other board members to not vote the way they wanted to vote. And I watched that video 5 times just to make sure I was right. And it was disgusting to see. And you know who you are. And as far as homeschooling goes, I've already, there's tons of resources. We've already been in contact with people, and I love our school. I love my son's teachers. I love the education that he's getting. I love that his teachers will call me and be like, your son is slipping. It's been a week, like what's going on? And they reach out to me. And so I appreciate that. So that's that. But again, you guys just aren't listening to us. And you were voted in here to listen to us and address our concerns when we can't do it. but you seem to have some issues with that. I'm for the survey, of course, as we all know. There's no harm in it. Be proactive. 7 days, 8 days, the Senates are going to meet, and then what? We're going to be back here, and it's not going to be pretty. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next up, Jason Gertler.
Good evening, everybody. Jason Gertler, Rollins Street. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for fighting, for listening and standing up and fighting. We've been at this for 2 years. I mean, I'm over it. I'm tired. So we've been at this regarding masks to start, right? That was a big deal, really big deal. And we fought and fought and fought. And then in February, this district conducted a survey of the community to see where they stood on how they should reopen school, proactively, should the governor lift the mask mandate, There was no announcement. We didn't know if she was or not, but you sent a survey anyway. You wanted to know where your community stood, and the results were pretty astounding. People didn't want masks on their kids. And there was a choice about vaccination, and the numbers on the vaccination choice were just so minuscule. It's a pretty good indication of people don't want to have a vaccine mandate to go to school. Case in point, 11 correspondence to the board regarding vaccines and advocacy. 10 were anti-vax to 1 pro-vax. That's 10 to 1. Granted, it's a small number. It's a pretty big ratio. I myself conducted a little poll asking if you would homeschool, follow a mandate, leave New York, or people also put in their own choices. Out of 54 votes, again, small scale, 33 chose homeschooling, 1 chose to follow a mandate, 13 chose to leave New York. They're probably the smart ones. So again, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of the results not being in your favor? Because we all know that it's the job of the school to bring revenue in, right? The job of the board is to manage the money, the budget. Every child that's not in school represents a loss of funding to the district. Of course, you're not going to advocate for your kids to go homeschooling because that means you don't get the funding for them. Part of this bill, A8378, is to receive state funding to mandate kids to come to school. A mass exodus of kids would hurt this district financially, and I think the community needs to understand where this board is coming from. They don't care about your kids. They just want the money. So, again, Law and Matt, thank you so much for standing up and doing what's right, having a wherewithal. Oh, last point, 2 weeks from now, January 4th, the state legislation opens session. The bill will be reintroduced, and it will proceed. And if you didn't act on it, like it was said before, that's a black eye on all of you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Jason Severia.
Jason Severia, 936 State Route 67. Matt and Law, that was awesome. Appreciate it. You were doing what elected officials should do. All of you were elected. I'm not sure if you were elected. I think you were appointed. Who are you speaking for, yourself? Huh? Does it take somebody, a 41-year-old machinist, to tell you that sit on a board, elected officials, how an election works and why an election takes place? So you can be the voice of the people, and you just sat here and told the entire community you don't care what they say? Doesn't that go directly against the election process? If you're going to be a dictator, just move out of the country and go be a dictator in a country that loves dictatorships. You know what I mean? It's such cowardice. And you sit there with like blank stares. Like you don't even hear me. And I'm right in front of you talking into a microphone. I don't understand you people. I really don't. I love this community. And you are definitely a stain. The worst kind, an infection.
Mr. Severia,
and when
please
there's an
keep your
infection,
comments, please keep your comments not
you're a
threatening.
stain too. You know, Law and Matt, we don't agree most of the time, but I will tell you when you're showing some gusto, and that was awesome. It's our money, Tim. Where are you going to get the money from? How about my
Please address your
taxes?
comments to the board as a whole and not to individual board members.
You can smile at me all you want. It's my money. It's their money. That's where it comes from. Little education. We are in a school. You get your money from me. And when I sit up here and I ask you to spend some of that money to conduct a survey, you damn well better listen.
If you can conclude your comments, please.
I just got a text message from a very esteemed individual, Tony Fauci. He said, "You're a good little boy, Timmy."
Next speaker, Meg Soden.
Meg Soden, 34 Liberty Drive. First off, I love the discussion. I love the discussion that was had here on the vaccination. I mean, I love to see the back and forth. I haven't seen a lot of that. Honestly, that's probably one of the first times in a long time. So I really do appreciate that. I'm extremely disappointed, though. I'm extremely disappointed that, you know, not going forward, not being sent with the survey. You know, we are the people. We are the people of the community. We want to be heard. I mean, that's the biggest thing. We want to be heard. When we're up here, we don't talk for our own good. We're talking for our friends, our family, our kids, our neighbors, everyone. A lot of people couldn't come, can't come. We're the voice for those people, and we're being ignored. And, you know, I feel like many of the board members here are just speaking for your own concerns and not really as community-wide, and that's extremely concerning to me. Secondly, several months back, one of my friends from Scotia, She said an extremely disturbing book was gaining momentum in various states, and the book was genderqueer. I said, no, that's not going to happen in Ballston Spa. And so I checked it out. I checked out the book, looked into it. It's extremely disturbing, pornographic, highly inappropriate for any child. Honestly, it literally makes me feel like I want to be sick. I decided I needed to check in on this. I wanted to check with the administration in both the middle school and high school. I wanted to see, is this something that's in the library currently? Do we have it? And I was reassured. Nope. The book was not in the middle school, was not in the high school. And that was from the administration of the middle school, high school. Not even a month later, I hear that this same book was approved by the Ballston Spa Review Committee for the high school. I was shocked. How did they not know? And if they did know, they didn't mention it to me. In our discussions, they decided apparently to kick the can down the road and have the discussion for another day. That's, in my opinion, that's, as I stated before, I'm on the zoning board for the town of Milton. That's terrible transparency. This doesn't help build trust. I talk to my kids about trust. You got to be open, honest. That totally kills trust. That kills any relationship that you're trying to build with a community, with us. So I guess what I'm asking here is I ask the board to reconsider this. I ask each board member really to get the book, okay? To get the book, read the book, and review it and consider how you would feel if your child at the age of 10, my son was 10, coming into 6th grade, 10 to 18 and over were exposed to this outright pornographic material. So another thought is consider this. Voting, smoking, serving in the military have age restrictions, but pornographic material doesn't. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. We are now at the time in our agenda do we have any representation from associations? And so we'll hear from our PTA liaison, but right now our high school PSTA president is here to speak.
Good evening. I'm Yvonne Byertiel. I'm the president of the high school PTSA. I'd just like to start by thanking Misha Marvel for putting together a great application for Global Foundries, for a Global Foundries grant. The high school PTSA did receive a $4,500 grant check to support the after prom, the drive-in, and also funds to purchase 2 bikes for the annual health fair. So thank you very much to Global Foundries for your support every year, and to Misha for putting together some great comments to them. Our next meeting is Tuesday, January 24th, here at the high school in room 216 at 7. And we'll be voting on our bylaws, which are already expired, and I apologize for that. We do need at least a quorum of 10 people or 10 members there to get approval. So please, if you could join us if you are a member. We're also going to be asking for committee members for after prom. I think that last year 3 people ran all of after prom, and it was just so overwhelming that we really need to start working on that in January after the holidays are over with. Our next official event is the Staff Appreciation Lunch on Friday, January 27th. I'll be sending out some sign-up sheets for help that day, and also information on how to donate gifts for this amazing group of staff that guides our children every single day. Let's show them some appreciation. Last year, we had a multitude of gift cards and gift baskets, and they had such fun. It was just a great time, so we're hoping to put that on again this year. Our membership numbers remain at least half of what they were last year, so I don't know if the information's not getting out there, if people just aren't paying attention. I know that the admin email that went out today had information in there about how to become a member. If you can't make it to anything, if you can't get involved at anything, at least you can become a member and donate some money and support for the PTSA for the high school. And I also have paperwork with me tonight. I know there's not that many people here, but in case some people don't get the emails or they don't have the information, I do have the applications and the information on how to get that out there. I still have senior signs in my car for $10 each. Or if anyone would like to donate $10 so that someone who can't afford to buy a sign, or if the high school would like to let us know who may not be able to afford and they know they have interest in it, we would gladly donate the signs because they're just sitting in the back of my car. And we really want to acknowledge around the district these awesome seniors that are going to be graduating. And please, speaking of seniors, don't forget to encourage your seniors to apply for our 2 scholarships that come through the PTSA. There's a $200 scholarship from the PTSA, and there's a $500 Roger Gorman scholarship that we also do. So if I don't have any questions, happy holidays to everyone. Hope you have a great holiday season, and we'll see you next year.
I actually have a question. Do you have a QR code to scan to join, or is it just the
We don't,
application?
but you can go right through the district website, and I have the information on where to find that.
Okay, thank you.
Would anyone like the handout that she has? I already have it. Thank you, Law. Any other information from the PTAs or BARC or BACC? Okay. Then that concludes our meeting. I want to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah, a bright and meaningful Kwanzaa, and a Merry Christmas. And may I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.